Democrats have a problem of socialism. The fight inside the party isn't left versus center anymore. It's left versus far left. And that battle is on full display in New York, where self-described Democratic Socialists scored major victories. 15 years ago, the Democrats were nearly split on capitalism versus socialism, which is a statement unto itself. But today, nearly 2/3 say they prefer socialism.
So that was the reaction from reformed ESPN analyst Billy Kane when the DSA pulled off an amazing victory in New York last week with 2 DSA endorsed candidates and a third DSA adjacent candidate all won their primaries in New York. This is following on the heels of Chris Rabb here in Philadelphia winning his Democratic primary. The DSA has been on a roll. What Billy Kane is talking about is that the Democrats are having to face a fear, and it's the same fear that those on the right have. Tonight, we're going to take a look at 3 different reactions to the election landslides that happened in New York this past week. At the end, I'll tell you which of the 3 are the best and most truthful reaction. Given my advanced age and my tendency to push instead of pull at those doors at the friggin' Wawa down the street, let's begin tonight by looking at James Carville's reaction to the DSA victories.
So, Mr. Valiant, the New York Times reported, and I have the quote right here, I'll get to it. She is against.
Look at the luggage behind him. Grandpa forgot to unpack.
Passed off all her views. She has attacked interracial relationships in the American flag. Lady, I ain't in the same party as you. I'm sorry. I just not. And I actually do think it's time for Democrats to talk the S word, schism. I really do. Everybody's always said, no, we're coalition, we're big tent.
The S word is schism? Coming from the guy who covered up Bill Clinton's sexual proclivities back in the 90s? Weird. I guess old dogs do learn new tricks.
And there's just some shit that I can't be in the same tent with. And we talk about what Madame was 3 for 3 last night in Manhattan. They call it the Commie Corridor. Fine. Jason Crow's service pack, vote vets, 10 for 11. You wouldn't know Jason Crow exists. Okay,
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know Bill Sandberg exists. You wouldn't know. And I want to be very specific. I understand the free press for being here because if they nominated David Duke or something like that, we'd be the same way. I understand all that. To the extent I understand the Times, because they are the New York Times, so they have to cover. They are the hometown newspaper. But the idea that we must neglect everything else that's going on, all of these other primaries, all the recruits Jason has, all huge, phenomenal successes we've had, and declare that the party is now under the control of the Democratic Socialists of New York City is insane. But understand, these people do not like Democrats. Not only are they not Democrats, they wish Democrats poorly. So I just cannot. Maybe there's a way that you can say to, I guess Madame is the leader
just
of it.
Me or is this racist motherfucker just keep mispronouncing people's names on purpose? I mean, we all know that Carville was born in 1944 in Louisiana. You can't tell me that old hag hasn't been to a lynching in his life, given the time he grew up and the way he acts and the way he talks now.
You know, you try to insist that the people that run under your banner run as a Democratic Socialist and don't use the Democratic Party as your guideline, and let's negotiate the terms of a schism here. Maybe we can part under some kind of advantageous terms for both of us. But I'm done. I'm not in that fucking political party. I am totally comfortable in a political party that spends time questioning the policies of the government of Israel. In fact, I'm enthusiastic about that. I don't want to be in a political party that denies the right of the state of Israel to exist. That's just
the right of the state of Israel to exist. a fundamental misunderstanding that all of these center stems and all of these Zionist loving, genocide supporting asshats keep bringing up. The best response to this was Mamdani himself, who said, it's not a question about whether or not Israel has a right to exist. Israel does not have a right to exist as an apartheid state, period. We don't stand up for apartheid. And if that's what the DSA is advocating for, great. Nobody in the DSA has ever said Israel needs to go away, right? But what they have consistently said is that Israel needs to stop running an apartheid state, stop running an ethnocentric state, and stop killing women and children daily. If James Carville has a fucking problem with that, he can go join the Republican Party. I'm not going to stop him. In fact, I'll kick the door to make sure it hits him in the ass on the way out.
I just can't do that.
Right.
I'm sorry. It's just not doable.
They are a great gift to Donald Trump. And unless other Democrats stand up, certainly people like Obama, but also some of the younger Democrats, and said, this is not us. And the second point, I think, James, is it is absolutely crucial now that the Democrats don't just win in November in the House, pick up 8 or 10 seats.
Again, James Carville's a middle of the road
that group of
piece of shit, right? This is the attempt on Democrats' part to maintain their middle of the road status, right? We've lived through 20 plus years of conservatives pulling us further and further to the right. Meanwhile, for the last same 20 years, the Democrats have been aligning themselves with corporate overlords. One of the things I think we need to point out here is that asshole James Carville, on top of being, a dumb fucking dude, is also one of the major investors in Palantir, who is also making a ton of money off of Israel, right? This all is a mixture of Zionism and bowing down to corporate overlords, which the Democrats have been doing for the last at least 30 to 35 years. It started with Clinton. Clinton with his stupid little, triangulation strategy. That was James Carville. Carville was the one with the triangulation strategy. Where did it get us? Next up in our trifecta of responses to the DSA's amazing role they've been on for the last several months is Jamie Harrison. For those of you that don't remember Jamie, he was the Democratic chair from 2021 through 2025. And what were his major accomplishments? Let's see. He lost the 2024 presidential election by making us do the vote blue no matter who thing with Kamala Harris and Governor Walz. He lost control of the Senate and the House. And to add to that, since leaving his position as the DNC chair, he has consistently fought against any legislation which prevents lobbyists from becoming legislators and closing that revolving door in Washington. Let's take a look at what he had to say. He says, I say this with no ill will or animosity. If you hate the Democratic Party, then please don't run for our nomination. Don't use our resources. Don't rely on our volunteers. Don't use our infrastructure. Don't ask Democrats to invest their time, money, and energy in your campaign. Focus on building the party you actually support. Political parties aren't perfect, but they're built by millions of people who knock doors, make calls, organize meetings, and fight for the values they believe in. If you don't believe in the party, then don't ask its members to carry you across the finish line. What the fuck are you talking about, Jamie? Do you not realize that Chris Rabb won a Democratic primary with DSA backing? And who voted for him? Democrats, registered Democrats in the city of Philadelphia. That's who voted for him. And as far as the elections in New York go, Mamdani's victory, he ran in the Democratic primary, and asshats like you came out after he won. He convinced your voters, your constituents, that he was the better option than Andrew Cuomo. You asshats then decided that Andrew Cuomo was the guy you were going to back. Hell, I don't even know if Chuck Schumer has yet to endorse Mamdani. I don't know that Hakeem Jeffries has done anything other than give him a call. And then in this latest round of elections, Claire Valdez wins, and you guys throw a fucking hissy fit. You're complaining that the Democratic Socialists actually used your primaries to promote their candidates to your voters, and your voters decided that the Democratic Socialist candidates were the ones they preferred over your middle of the road corporate supporting candidates? That's nuts, man. Do you even hear what you're saying? Oh, wait, he came back the next day. And let me be clear, I don't care if you're progressive, moderate, or conservative. I've worked with Democrats across the ideological spectrum. You worked with Democrats like Liz Cheney. That's who you fucking worked with, you shithead. But we understood that building a stronger Democratic Party was part of the job. Really? Telling Kamala Harris to back off from her populist speeches and telling Tim Walz to shut up during the campaign against Trump was your way of making the Democratic Party strong? I don't get it, man. I just don't understand. If you hate the party, spend your days attacking it and have contempt for all the people who make it possible. Then see above. Jamie, my friend, you're missing the point. As a DSA member, and I'm not going to claim that I speak for anybody in the DSA other than myself, I'm going to tell you now that what the DSA is expressing is not a hatred for the Democratic Party. It's really a hatred that grows from the failure of the Democratic Party to respond to the working class since at least Bill Clinton's time in office. And you, as a corporate lobbyist, were the DNC chair, and your wisdom and your middle of the road approach led us to Trump 2.0. I don't get it, man. You're complaining that your constituents and your voters chose leaders that the Democratic leadership didn't choose. I lived through this before, right? When we had Bernie Sanders running against Hillary Clinton, you and others like you, like James Carville, were out there saying Bernie has no chance of winning. And so you pulled some strings, you got super delegates, you did a lot of funky math, and you got Hillary the nomination. And then you asked us as liberals and progressives to stand behind her. That was a mistake. And finally, let's move on to the third response from the DSA landslides over the last month or so. And it's coming from a very unexpected place.
The insurgent left is taking over. Now, listen, I don't know if you've seen this, and if anybody shared it from the podium, and if they have, forgive me for repeating it. But the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, it sounds so innocuous, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Don't say that. This is their platform. Listen, this is actually quotes from their platform that they published, I think, about a day or two ago. You can find this on the internet. Okay, here's just a sample of what they're about. They put this on paper. They're saying the quiet things out loud. Abolish the Electoral College, replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy. Expand the House of Representatives, implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections. Establish public ownership of the largest corporations and essential industries to ensure democratic control and accountability to the people. Abolish ICE and grant amnesty for all. End sanctions on Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran. Free Palestine. Quote, for a free Palestine with Jerusalem as its capital. End all military and economic aid to Israel. Prosecute U.S. and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza. Abolish the carceral state. Quote, redirect police and prison funding to public services as steps towards abolishing the carceral forces of the capitalist state. Y'all, it goes on and on and on. Defund the Department of War, replace the president and the Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen and subordinate to Congress, which they're hoping to take over. And the last one is abolish the Senate. Now, some of you may agree with that, but don't, just leave that one there. Okay. It's fine. I'm kidding. I love my colleagues over there.
I got nothing to add to that. He's spot on. DSA, if you take this and you're using it in your campaign speeches, maybe we don't be so, what's the word? Condescending when we use words like democracy and democratic and putting things up for a vote. But I think you could lift this out, post it on every social media site, and basically say that Mike Johnson's characteristics of what we are is spot on. And if that's something that you agree with, and we know the polls show that most Americans do agree with everything he said, minus the disdain, of course, we are looking at landslide victories for the DSA in the next few years. With that, thanks everybody for watching. If you could, leave a comment. Check out some of my other videos. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.